another journey, and let's just start this journey by discovering the transformative power of empathy, understanding, and inclusivity with Joanne Lockwood, or Jo. By connecting with her, you create a vibrant, empowering environment where everyone can excel, expect to be inspired, and guided towards fostering a truly exclusive culture within your organization. As you embark on this journey, Joanne's passion and expertise will unlock your organization's full potential, making a profound impact on both individuals and collective success. Now, we're going to talk about life as a whole, but first of all, we must introduce Joanne or Jo to the journey. Hi,
Hi, David. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
you're welcome. Now, obviously, your journey is a very powerful one, and I've seen, the flyer you sent me, which actually shows where you've transformed many companies like, I'll list them, Royal Navy, CrowdStrike, Lego, NHS, Zurich, Health Insurance, Siemens Healthineers, Metro Bank, to people talking in America, they will think, what's that? And I'll explain that at a later time. But it's mainly organizations based in UK, which is where I'm from originally. Now, journeys begin. Your earliest memories you want to share possible without upsetting yourself. What is your earliest memories?
Well, if you think about as a child, I mean, I was born to two parents, obviously two parents. My father was in the Navy. So I was born actually in Singapore, in a medical military hospital in Singapore, back in the mid 60s. So I have very little recollection of that, but I'm kind of framing it in that the environment I was brought up with was very kind of very vanilla, very ordinary, very middle class, if you like. Um, there wasn't much going on really, just a Navy background. My parents became teachers. And I grew up in, I suppose, my formative years with the 1970s. There was no internet, no television, no mobile phones. We were, back in those days, we were just playing in the streets and coming home when it got dark. So the memories I have are kind of based on um, a child who was reasonably happy. Yeah, I was not unhappy. I had a good parent. I had two brothers. Middle class England, as I mentioned, went to a standard, pretty normal school. It's very white in those days. There was very little ethnic diversity or even religious diversity. So, um, but I remember having thoughts, feelings, a conflict, if you like, about my own sense of self, my gender. Uh, and I'm very mindful that I don't try and rewrite my history 50, 60 years later, thinking, yeah, applying what I know now to back where I was then. But I'm trying to be as honest and authentic as I can be about what I do remember. And there's a couple of memories that stick into my head. And one of them was I was a Cub Scout, part of the scouting movement when I was little. And, I used to have the little cap on, the little green jumpers with the badges on my sleeve. And the first Sunday of every month, we used to have a church parade. And the church parade was in the local church hall, and they used to line the brownies, the guides, the cubs, the scouts, the venture scouts, and everybody up in rows behind. And I remember sitting there thinking more than once, many times, being a cub with the brownies and guides in front of me, that I was in the wrong place. I should have been with the guides, should have been with the brownies. And that was the kind of thing that stuck into my head. And I've got memories of being a young person in my 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, um, trying my mum's makeup on, trying my mum's jewelry on, trying my mum's shoes on. And in those days, there was nothing to go on. I couldn't talk about this with anybody, couldn't talk about it with my parents. But it didn't actually conflict me other than knowing that I was doing something shameful. I was doing something wrong, doing something I shouldn't be doing. Because I appreciate that if I was a little girl trying her mum's makeup and jewelry and shoes and everything else on, if my mum found me, it would have been kind of cute and kind of maybe naughty, but not treated as a weird or strange. But as a little boy, yeah, I was hyper aware that this was something I was very secretive about. And that stuck with me for years and years and years. This is as I into my teens. I remember uh, we had a school field trip. It was for geography, and we went away for a week. And on the final night of our being away, the teachers allowed us to have a little bit of a party and celebration, and it was a fancy dress. So I persuaded fellow my fellow pupils, if you like, my classmates, the women, to lend me their clothes to dress me up. So I went as a girl to the fancy dress party, and that I think I was probably 13 years old at the time, and that kind of felt really, really right. It didn't feel confusing at all. So I had these feelings all the way through growing up. So that's kind of my earliest memories of how my sort of gender identity, if you like,
Yeah.
conflict has
And you
kind of
talk
evolved.
and you talk about gender identity and I know people who are transgender. I know people who are in the LGBTQ community, and having grown up in the LGBTQ community myself, because my mum's a lesbian, she's outright lesbian, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, even though my mum in later life always says I was homophobic towards her because of certain elements. And it's like, no, I'm not. But it's just about me adapting, and as I got older, it's about adapting. But I've never held anything against people because, I always see people as themselves, like you are you now, and that's how I see you. Now, I'm not going to ask for comparison because I don't want to have a comparison, but at the end of the day, you are Joanne, you are Joe, but that's all you are. That's all you want to be seen as. And I
Yeah,
can,
and that's fundamentally it. Yeah.
and I commend that. But, and the same goes for my mum. I don't condone her for being a lesbian because that's her way of life. Yes, she had me at a young age. Maybe she had a trauma, but at the same time, I'm still here. I'm still loved, even if I'm in America and we don't talk anymore. I know in her own right mind she still does love me, but it's just difficult because of strained relationships. But with you in the 70s, as you said, you couldn't talk about it openly because it was taboo. Like my mum in the 80s, just after she left my dad, she can come out to my grandparents and say she was a lesbian because of that generation of parents, my grandparents were. They couldn't accept
Mm.
it.
Oh, completely. And it's many people. I mean, one thing you don't realize if you never have to come out because you're just typical, then you never appreciate the fear of stigma, the anxiety, fear of rejection, all those kind of things. So yeah, it's real, and yeah, coming out as any your sexuality or your gender identity is a real challenge because you're hyper aware. What if that person rejects you,
Mm,
stigmatizes you, doesn't accept you? And yeah, you're very focused on that, and that's there's a whole lot of masking and covering and pretending that goes on to conform with other people's expectations.
It's like I know a friend, like I said, I know a friend who is transgender, and she's been through a lot. Now, I've known her before she was who she is, and I'm trying to not say her name because I do respect her privacy, and I know she wouldn't appreciate it. But I've known her since before she was who she is now, and I can see that she was troubled as a person. That's why she transitioned to be a female,
Yeah.
and I do see that difference. And she still has the same hobbies, interests as she did when she was male, but I try not to think of her as male now because she's female, and that's where the difficulty is. And I know from experience down when she's been, to certain parts of the UK, she does get that abuse still because people are still not some places are more acceptable than others, but where she lives, I think half of it is okay with her being transgender. Half of her like why, and then she goes down to another part of the country and she gets completely alienated because people are so old school, as they would call it, to say we don't like that value here. You're not welcome.
I mean, I get it. I mean, I, I, I don't understand it myself. you asked me to explain why or how or what or all these kind of things. I don't know. I don't
Mm,
understand why I'm trans. I don't understand why my gender identity is different to other people's and how it works. I've stopped trying to understand it and just accept it and just go, well, I am. I'm who I am. I'm me.
mm,
And that's the best way that I found to rationalize it in my own brain, just that I am.
mm,
And when people say I don't get it, I go, I get it. I don't get it either. So
mm,
you're not talking to somebody who's trying to persuade you here. I don't understand it either. I just
mm.
am.
And I see you embrace it in such a way, and it is a powerful way that you've embraced it in such a way that does make you a stronger person.
Yeah, I think you have to have a level of personal resilience in whatever you're trying to overcome in your life, and coming out, tackling mental health, tackling this, tackling that in our lives. We have to have a level of resilience, and I think this experience over the last 10 years has given me the ability to be more pragmatic about life, more pragmatic about other people. It's changed my outlook on acceptance and belongingness and inclusion and culture around how I want to be treated. Therefore, I recognize that if I want to be treated in this way, I have to treat other people. I have to echo that. And I think it's helped me grow as a person to open my mind to marginalization, to minoritism, and all these kind of things as well. It's moved me from my privileged, safe place into this vulnerable place, and now I get it. And I think that's the big change that's occurred.
Mm, I accept that. So it goes into saying about, and it says about, doing things about diversity inclusion, and that is the key element about being diverse, because you've got to have a wide, diverse mindset now, and inclusion in everything, because it's not just one little corner now, it's about the major space that is in front of you. It's like I said, it's gone from a little dot to something that's way bigger.
Yeah, and I understand. We're at the beginning of 2025 here as we're talking,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of pushback on DEI, and major corporations are rolling it back. Meta, Facebook are talking about taking away some of their protection policies, and the world's now panicking that hate speech is going to be on the rise. The fact checking is going to disappear. So we are living in a time now where people are pushing back against this wokeism and all this diversity work. But fundamentally, diversity isn't about giving people advantage. It's about giving people the tools they need to start at the same start line, so that we're all competing the race from the same perspective. So I prefer focusing on belonging, culture, well-being, these type of phrases, as opposed to talk about diversity as such and promoting people. So it's all about giving people equal opportunity through giving people support and tools they need to succeed. That's for me was about the equity, if you like.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if you can see it in the description how it's written. I put EM is because I notice most people go for that now, and I'm not saying people do question my gender or my pronouns, but I put it so people are aware, so they don't automatically think, oh, he's got a soft voice. He sounds like he could be, I put that just to protect myself. Now,
Yeah, and as you can tell from my voice, I've got quite a deep voice, and sometimes I confuse people, especially
mm,
on the phone where people can't see me, even face to face where my deep voice gets heard before they see me. I know it confuses people. I can't change that. I can't fix that. It just is.
mm. So going into the present, and obviously your work as Sea Change Happen, and I assume it's named after seeing change happen in a lot of things. I like the logo because obviously it incorporates the, as I call it, the rainbow. Can you tell us about your work as well?
Yeah. So when I gender transitioned about 7 or 8 years ago, well, 8 or 9 years ago now, my mission really was to try and help other people, other individuals, other couples, other families have a more positive experience of their transition, whether they're transgender, trans male, trans female, or non binary, than I had. or we had as a family. And it was about creating awareness, about creating recognition, about addressing systemic biases and problems, helping organizations create policies to embrace and celebrate trans non-binary colleagues. That's kind of what I do now is I spend a lot of time working with organizations, trying to nudge perspectives, trying to make them think broader about the impact of discrimination, the impact of bullying, how they can avoid uh, making someone feel less than themselves. I talk about it's not necessarily about making me feel special, but it's about not making me feel bullied, discriminated against, anxious, worried. So that's how I work with organisations, and it's throughout the UK, throughout the world. I've worked for organisations, as you pointed out, global organisations, organisations based in the US, to help them create not just policies, but policies that speak and resonate with the individuals they're there to support.
Yeah, and those resonating messages of support, when you help them, it's a way of impacting them in such a way that does make that difference.
Hmm. Yeah, because I recognise that, and we're not talking about trans non-binary people, we're talking about people with various backgrounds. Often there's an anxiety and a fear of getting it wrong. So people tend to lean away or walk away from people because they're worried about saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, or thinking the wrong thing. So I want to try and disarm people. Smile, engage, and educate is my mantra. So if I could smile, I can talk to you, have a conversation, then hopefully education will occur. It's not about me telling you what to think. It's not about me making you think something or being forced to behave in a certain way. All I want to do is say, makes me happy. Makes me sad. Hopefully you'll want to make me happy and not make me sad. This is how we can do it together. This is how I can help you, help me. Not about me pointing my finger and telling you what to do. It's about enlightening you as to a better way, if you like. And I say you don't have to get it. Just understand how I can be happy and how I can be sad. That's what it's about, really.
Yeah, and you probably will relate to my ethos when I talk about it. I use the 5 vows, which is amuse, educate, inspire, observe, and understand. And that's what I think will resonate in your sort of work because you are doing those 5 key elements I just highlighted, I believe, because you are wanting to see the funny side of things. You are wanting to educate people. You want to inspire, but you also watch people by observing them, but you're also understanding them.
Oh, completely. And we have to we have to meet people where they're at. If I communicate without thinking about how you want to communicate, how you want to listen, how you want to be heard, how you want to learn, it's just going to bounce off. So I have to be conscious about my audience and meeting them where they're at.
Mm.
And I have to adapt my style sometimes. I can't expect everyone to listen to me the way I speak. I have to listen to people understand how they want to learn and consume ideas.
Yeah. So reading through your notes about you as a whole as well, you've been on television to talk about, if I remember where it says, you did write it down. You appeared on Channel 4's Goop Gogglebox and other
Yes,
shows.
yes, yes.
I've watched Gogglebox in my time, and if people in America wonder what Gogglebox is, there is clips on YouTube. But tell us about your time on Gogglebox and explain what Gogglebox is.
So my wife and I, we took part in a documentary um, it, over a 3 year period from 2016 through to about 2019 with one of our TV channels in the UK called Channel 4, and it was called The Making of Me. So they followed us with a camera every 4 or 5 weeks. We spent a weekend with us. We go do something. We go shopping. We go to the cinema, theatre, or have some parties, have friends around, and they'd film all of this. And this show went out February 2019. And Gogglebox is a program which is a bit like a fly in the wall documentary. So you have families all around the country sitting on the sofa, watching TV, talking to each other about the program they're watching, and they interact with each other, but all the interaction is filmed. So you see the original program that they're watching and their reaction and their discussion about it. So this documentary that I took part in was broadcast to these families, to the Goggleboxers, and they all critiqued it, they digested it, they commented on it, they pointed things out, and it is available on YouTube somewhere.
Mm.
Certainly, I think I can find a link somewhere if you want to see that. But yeah, so we were watching, we were a fly on the wall, watching them be a fly on the wall. And it was a really interesting experience because I certainly was able to then listen to other people's true remarks about me. So I actually heard what people thought about me, my wife, my family, my gender transition, what we've been through. And what it struck me was this random group of people had empathy, they had compassion, they had confusion, they weren't sure. But there was more there, which was really, really powerful. That um, it enlightened me that the world is a good place. You've just got to meet people where they're at, as I said just now.
Yeah, and what will symbolize, if you ever have a program where everyone in the world, there's a program that reviews things. Gogglebox is like a review show, like the BBC have points of view. Gogglebox is more advanced for now because obviously it shows families, and it actually gives the honest review from the family point of view, and it does relate as a family context. Oh, what's this show about? And they watch it just because they get presented it, but they have to give their review on it. Now,
Hmm.
points of view is actually people complaining or actually commending, so there's two balances. I don't know what the short show would be over in America, but I know it's a review show where people give honest opinion. Now,
Yeah,
for
it's not really a review as such, Gogglebox. It's more capturing. If you're with your family on the sofa watching telly, you talk to each other and remark about, oh, look at that person there, look at this person there. Well, that's what, I don't like that. So it's capturing that reality perspective of the moment of the family banter, if you like, the conversations that occur on the sofa between each other. So yeah, it's their live thoughts about what they're watching is what it's really
yeah,
about.
and there's been several stars made from that show as well because of certain elements that were presented. Oh, this person's good for the show. This will make the show highlighted, and then they took that person away from it to make them a bigger star.
Yeah, and, I mean, I don't know about other places. I know has got a big following of Gogglebox there. But in the UK, the Goggleboxers have their own internet following. They're probably not necessarily mainstream media celebrities, but they are social media celebrities. And they also have a celebrity Gogglebox as well, where you get
Mm.
well-known people on their sofas with their friends
Yeah,
talking about things as well. So yeah, it's multi-level.
yeah, and reality sh TV since I'd say 2000, because that's the earliest things that make me stick out for it. 99, 2000 era. Reality TV's gone such a way from that era, 99, 2000, up to what it is now, that people are looking at more people to say that's them. And some people go on it for the fame, some people go on it for the fact it's just the TV and they just like the money. But that's not what it's about. It's just about getting to know the person, I think, and that's what I analyze a lot of. It's like I used to watch early series of Big Brother. And I
Hmm.
mean, that it's big in UK when it was popular. And in the early 2000s, yes, it was popular because it had certain characters like Jade Goody, the late Jade Goody. It had, trying to think of his name, Craig, the first winner. And then you actually got into later series and it got into transgender people like Nadia who actually won it. And it just
Hmm.
showed that people loved people for who they were.
Yeah, and yeah, Big Brother made people's careers. I mean, Jake Goody wasn't really a celebrity at all
No.
until Big Brother, and that sort of made her. And a lot of people have made their careers a bit like the other reality shows, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and Strictly or Dance with the Stars, and these kind of programs are elevating people's careers from a different perspective, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like you touched upon, like I said, all views are my own, so I am trying to remember that, but I'm a celebrity. Those are celebrities who have had a low-key element in their career or they need picking up. They appear on I'm a Celebrity. Their careers are elevated again for like a year, 2 years, depending on who it
Mm.
is. And then there was a joke I used to make with one of my early bosses. I used to say, it's not I'm a Celebrity, it's now I'm a Celebrity, keep me in there. Because some of them is like, why do we have to have them in the public eye to have them, so keep them in there.
Yeah, I think it's in a way there it allows the public or the people who are watching to see a different side, more the authentic side, rather than just the stage managed, the glossy side. You're seeing the person how they react when they're hungry, how they're reacting with conflict, how they're reacting when they're dirty and need a shower. So you tend to see the a rawer side, and then people you think are very nice, warm, and friendly turn out to be not, and the people who you're not sure about suddenly you warm to them because you see the humanity coming out.
Yeah. So we go into the future now because obviously we talked about past, the present, and the future. The future is getting stronger in a lot of elements, obviously. Do you believe it's going to be a stronger, better place, or do you think it's still going to be the stronger as it is now, where it's going to be everyone's happy, everyone's at a level where everything's accepted?
Um, I think the reality of the world, the reality of humanity, is that this is an infinite journey. Yeah, no matter how far you travel, there's always more traveling to do. People change, facts change, the world changes, politics changes. So yeah, we've come a long way since the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s around LGBTQ plus, trans, gay, lesbian, bi rights. But we're still not there yet. But we're still not there with people's faiths, people's religions, with disability. We've still got a long way to go. And I think if you talk to any person who's marginalised, minority, all say that we could be doing more. But you even say that about people with privilege, people who are the majority, they're not having it easy either. So I think we have to learn as a humanity that we need to be focused on positive experiences, well-being, mental health, inclusion, belonging, creating cultures. Because even the best cultures have dark and dismal corners where people are feeling outsiders. So yeah, we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go, and we have to, as I would often say, we have to hold the rope. We have to keep believing, keep trying, keep making sure that we're not letting it slip. And we've got political climates changing at the moment. Pushback on DEI, pushback on LGBTQ plus trans rights across the world, and all we can do is just keep in there, and keep smiling, keep believing, and keep nurturing allies around us to support us and create better lives. So, yeah, we should never drop the rope. We've got to keep holding the rope and keep the strain.
Now, we touched upon your website, obviously. Are you okay about sharing it if people want to get in contact with you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, my main website is See Change Happen, SEE changehappen.co.uk. I've also got my website, which I use for my speaking, my professional keynote speaking business, which is joannelockwood.co.uk. So Joanne Lockwood, all one word, .co.uk. If you Google me, you'll find me, my YouTube channel, my LinkedIn profile, and various other places. Yeah.
And I'll make sure I put the links in the description afterwards. But ultimately, the last question is, what words would you inspire to others to go on in their journey, whether they are straight, LGBTQ, trans, whatever you want to go in that umbrella? What would you say to them to progress in their journey?
One thing I learned over the last 10 years is in order to be loved, you have to be lovable. In order to be liked, you have to be likable. In order to be respected, you have to be worthy of respect. And that starts with you, how you show up. So I learned how I show up is important to how people treat me. So I have to take personal responsibility for how I am perceived in the world. And that's something I can control. I can't control how you react, but I can control how I show up. So I think when we're thinking about how like life mantras and personal responsibility, taking control of you. Don't worry about changing the world, worry about changing you and influencing and nudging others around you by being a person that's worthy of being loved, liked, and respected.
That is amazing. Joe, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. It has been a pleasure. I hope your words help others in this way because I know being impactful is a way forward for many to come.
Thank you, David. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.
The Journey is looking for you. To sponsor the Journey, email wisewords1983@reborn.com. That is wisewords1983@reborn.com.